Hey guys, thank you for watching. This is Breaking Bosque. It is my YouTube channel about houseplants and gardening here in the desert of Albuquerque, New Mexico. I did give away some cuttings this weekend, and the lady who picked them up came in my house and started asking questions about a few of my plants. So I figured I'd do a video on the answer that I gave her, so maybe if she's watching, it could give her a little more insight as to what I was talking about. Now, this does need to be repotted. There are roots sticking out the bottom, and it's been in here for quite a while. I don't want to say how long because it's pretty embarrassing. But you can see it has sent out a new whip from the top. Little shorty. And then it does have some legginess, which I was okay with because it was on top of a shelf behind things. And you can see there towards the bottom, it really does fill out quite a bit. This thing's probably about 6 feet long, the longest tendril or vine, whatever you want to call it. So I am going to be repotting it today, and then I'm going to show you how to get a fuller, nicer pot. So I have a bigger pot here. This is a little bit excessive for what you should do. You should go the next size up. This is the next size up that I have, so that's what I'm doing. I did put soil in there and a little bit of starter fertilizer. Now you do want to read the package because especially if they're indoor plants, it is easier to burn them with the fertilizer. You always want to try and do it at about a half strength, if not a little less, depending what it is you're using. So I'm going to turn this out of the pot here. And we can see it is pretty root bound. Like bad. So, like I said, I should have done this a while back. Bad me, I didn't. So you do, anytime you pot things, usually that's what this lip here on the side is for. All pots, well, most pots have them. And the reason they have them is to let you know where the soil line should be. I think, especially for beginners, they should put soil line on the inside or something. So nothing crazy here, we're just going through and backfilling all around where there wasn't soil. And I actually don't think this is too much overkill for this because you're supposed to go the next pot size up, which is usually 1 or 2 inches. And that's about what this is, so. The problem with going too big too fast is some things like to be root bound, and you can set them back like that. They won't grow or won't grow as nicely if they're in too big of a pot. I am making a mess today. But the other thing, you can develop root rot if there's too much soil and it doesn't drain quick enough. So that's the biggest thing, the biggest worry. Now if you do have whips like this that, like I say, I let go too long and I probably should have done this earlier, but hey. You can see probably the first foot is bald. So what I'm going to do with this is just feed it around the pot here, and then probably going to go a couple more leaves than what's dropped off. And then I made these little pins. They're just metal baling wire that I bent, and I'm going to secure it there. Now you can see all the little aerial roots on this vine are touching soil. So they should, in theory, as long as there's moisture in the soil and they're touching it, they should start to send down roots, which would be amazing. Now this one, again, has about a foot of no growth. But this one I think I'm going to go around a little further. So, just going to whip it around and throw a couple more pins. You can use bobby pins. They sell landscape staples. I'm not buying all that stuff. I wouldn't be able to keep track of it anyway, so that one's a little too short for the section I'm using. And then this last one, this is the one that I say is over 6 feet long, so we should be able to get a decent amount of this wrapped up. And you could go through here, you could chop it at every node, and you could try and propagate nodes. Nodes, however, are not as easy as regular propagations. Don't let anyone fool you. You do have to be a little more seasoned of a gardener to be able to pull that off. I can manage once in a while, but you know, sometimes you try and think you're smarter than what you did last time, and you try something different and it blows up in your face. So remember, gardening is always an experiment. You're taking plants that aren't in their natural habitat, or you'd be having them for free already, and you're trying to force them to grow in an environment that obviously isn't made for them if they're not there naturally. Now, you can see this pot looks a lot better. I mean, it does look a little stringy up there, but all these leaves from the nodes should start setting up new growth. Another thing you can do if you have it a little exposed, like a couple of these are, or they're not exactly touching the soil, you can go through with a little handful of soil and just lightly build it up to it. You don't want to cover the vine because you can rot it. I mean, you can cover a little, but not like bury it 2 inches. That's not going to work. Another thing you could do, which I'm going to do with one of these, just to show you guys. Not the longest because that one's really pretty. I'm going to take this one and we'll just cut it back over here. Now, what I'm doing is just taking cuttings between the nodes. And then, since this is fresh soil, what you can do is you can take that and make sure you put it right side up and just stick it to where the node is, this aerial root node is below the soil. So if you just stick it in there like that, and I'm just going to do a few all around so we do get the effect. A couple more vines here and there ain't going to hurt. Definitely lead to a fuller pot. Now these are going to take a little slower. And this is basically what we're doing with these, except we're not cutting them from the plant. So it's a little more guaranteed that these aren't going to rot or that they'll take. These, however, you can lose, and you do have to keep them moist, or at least make sure you're on top of watering, because if you let them dry out too much, they will die. And you don't want that. The whole purpose of this is making a nicer, fuller, healthier plant. But that's about it. So you can take your whip around and pin it to the soil. You can take cuttings and stick them straight in the soil depending on what type of plant it is. Like I said, this is a vine that roots pretty easily. And just make sure you keep it watered. If you keep it watered and healthy and bug free, you will be having a nice, pretty, full plant in no time. You can see here we do have these things lifting up from the weight of them, which I thought they might, so I was prepared and I did make a longer spike. And actually I think I'm going to change it a little here. So it's really long on one end, a hook to be able to grab it, and the long end I figure should be able to stick down into the soil enough where it won't pull out. Look at that, it worked. Wow. Don't mess everything up. So, just gonna do that again because there is another spot where it is kind of far from the soil. And I'm gonna hook two of these together because that way I don't have to have so many pins in here. And it kind of worked. Not as great as the first one. I think I need to go more to the mother root ball on this. There we go. Because that's the soil that's compacted. But there it is. Let me get you an aerial so you can see exactly what's going on. Excuse the mess. Like I said, I didn't make a mess. But you can see here and there are pins. Now, it isn't smashing the root, the vine, and it isn't pinching it either. So make sure you still give it enough room to grow. But thank you for watching, and hope this helped you a little in getting a fuller pot. Have a great day.